All right, let's get right into it. When we talk about modern healthcare, clinical decision support systems, or CDSS, aren't just some optional add on anymore. Nope, they've become a core, fundamental layer. Think of it like the digital nervous system for a hospital, helping them sort through mountains of data to make smarter, faster, and sometimes life saving decisions. And this quote right here, it nails it. We're not talking about a simple app. We're talking about a system that gets woven into the very fabric of patient care, from diagnosis to treatment. Getting this right on a massive enterprise scale is a huge deal, but the impact, it's just as huge. So think of this as our blueprint for today. We're going to walk through the 5 absolutely critical stages of building an enterprise-level CDSS. We'll start with the initial idea and take it all the way to a living, breathing system that keeps getting smarter. First things first, you have to define your clinical strategy. And honestly, this might just be the most important step of all. Every single decision you make right here is going to have a ripple effect through the entire project. You have to get this blueprint right. So before you even think about writing a single line of code, you've got to answer this one big question. What problem are you really trying to solve? It sounds simple, but the answer determines everything that comes next. And here's the thing you got to realize. These aren't just technical questions. They're deeply strategic. Are you trying to prevent dangerous medication errors, or are you aiming higher, trying to help with complex diagnostics? Is this for everyone in the hospital, or is it a specialized tool for, say, the cancer center? Your answers here will dictate your data needs, your regulatory hurdles, and the very structure of your system. Okay, once you've got that strategy locked down, it's time to actually build the thing. This brings us to the technical core. Welcome to the engine room, where the strategy starts turning into reality. An enterprise CDSS is basically a data monster. It's incredibly hungry, and it needs a constant, high-quality diet of data from all these different sources. But it's not just about getting the data, it's about getting it now. A clinical decision based on yesterday's vital signs is already a step behind. Now, I want you to pay close attention to this slide, because interoperability is completely 100% non-negotiable. If your fancy new CDSS can't talk to the hospital's main systems, the big ones like Epic and Cerner, using standards like HL7 and FEAR, then it's useless. It becomes an isolated piece of tech that nobody can use effectively. I love this slide because it perfectly shows the two sides of the system's brain. On one hand, you have the rule-based systems. Think of these as the cautious veteran clinician who follows the checklist perfectly every time. Great for flagging drug interactions. But then you have the AI-driven models. They're more like a brilliant detective, seeing subtle patterns in the data to predict things like which patient might suddenly take a turn for the worse. The best systems? They use both. Okay, so you've got your strategy, you've got the tech humming, but none of that matters if the people on the front lines, the doctors and nurses, don't actually use it. And that brings us to the crucial part, integrating into the clinician's workflow. This is all about people. And please, take this as a serious warning. You could invent the most incredible AI on the planet, but if using it means a busy nurse has to make 3 extra clicks for every single patient, I promise you, they will find a way around it. The system has to feel like help, not a hurdle. This is a massive issue in healthcare tech called alert fatigue. Just imagine you're a doctor and you're getting bombarded with hundreds of pop-ups and notifications all day. Pretty soon, your brain just starts tuning them out. And that's exactly when you might miss the one alert that actually matters, the one that's truly critical. Great design isn't about more alerts. It's about smarter, more relevant ones. All right, so we have a smart system that clinicians actually want to use. Now we have to bulletproof it. We need to make sure it's safe, it's legal, and it's built to last. Let's talk about the guardrails, security, and scale. This stuff is the absolute bare minimum. We are handling some of the most private, sensitive data a person has, so complying with regulations like HIPAA isn't just a good idea, it's the law. Things like encryption and super strict access controls have to be baked into the system from the very beginning. Now, here's a term you really need to know: software as a medical device, or SAMD. The moment your software starts giving advice that could influence a doctor's decision, regulators might look at it and say, hey, that's not just software anymore, that's a medical device. And that changes the game completely, requiring way more intense validation and proof that it's safe. And you absolutely have to plan for growth from day one. A system that works perfectly fine for one hospital will just completely fall apart when you try to scale it to 10. Using things like cloud infrastructure and microservices isn't just about using buzzwords. It's about building a system that won't break when it gets bigger. And that brings us to our final piece of the puzzle. But here's the twist. It's not really the end. It's about creating a system that is constantly learning, constantly improving. It's a living thing. This slide shows the loop that literally never stops. You test it like crazy, you roll it out carefully, and then, and this is the most important part, you listen. You get feedback from the real clinicians using it in the trenches every day, and you use that feedback to make the system smarter and easier to use. Then you do it all over again. I really want to pause here for a second because this is so incredibly important. In most software, a bug is an annoyance, right? But here, a bug, a flaw in the logic, could have a real direct impact on a person's health. The responsibility is just enormous, which makes this clinical validation phase the single most critical step in the entire journey. So, after all that, all the strategy, the coding, the testing, what's the big payoff? Well, it's pretty profound. We're talking about better outcomes for patients, a real measurable drop in preventable medical mistakes, and a hospital system that just runs more smoothly. This is technology that truly makes a difference. And just so you know, the folks who authored our source material in Televon, this is exactly what they do. They help healthcare organizations navigate this whole complex process to build these kinds of secure, validated CDSS platforms. And all of this leaves us with one final thought to chew on. With AI and this tech getting smarter every single day, the possibilities are just staggering. So I'll leave you with this question. What's the one clinical decision you wish a system like this could help with right now, today? The future is definitely being built as we speak.